Hi, this is Mrs. Vance, and I want to welcome you to PreAP Biology at College Station High School. It's going to be a very interesting and unusual year for all of us after spending the spring and all of the summer kind of isolated, and now we're getting back together either in person or virtually, and so it's really good to see you and in one format or another get to know you and let you know a little bit about what we're going to be doing this year. I've lived in College Station for 40 years now. My husband and I have been married for a very long time, and we moved back here in 1980, so 40 years now. I've taught in College Station ISD off and on since 1984. I stayed home when my kids were young. I came back in 2002, and I've been back ever since then. I've been at College Station High since we opened the school in 2012. My children are grown, Austin and Caroline. My husband is a retired judge and lawyer. Austin lives here in College Station and works at Kentmore Cabinets in Bryan, and Caroline lives in Tyler and works as she's a writer, and she does aquariumscapes as a business. So they're busy doing their own thing in their lives. Let's talk a little bit about PreAP Biology. The textbook we use is this one over here. It's called Campbell Biology Concepts and Connections. It is a pretty high-level book. You will not be expected to read everything in the book. There will be certain readings that you'll get from it because it's actually a book that is used for some colleges for non-majors biology as a freshman. The course PreAP Biology covers the same standards that Biology 1 covers, the same TEKS. We have a slightly different sequence of topics than they do, but by and large we do a lot of the same things. We do go faster and deeper on some topics than they do. But we all take the same STAR or EOC, biology EOC at the end of the school year. So you'll cover the same thing. The EOC that you take is a Biology 1 EOC, not a PreAP EOC. You shouldn't have too much trouble with it. It should be relatively easy for you by the time we get there. These are the basic topics that we study this year. We're going to start, if you notice, most of the fall has something to do with cells or something inside cells. We're going to start with atoms and molecules and work our way up to the larger molecules that living things are made of, and then we're going to learn about cells and move up from there. In the spring, finally about February or so, we'll start talking about, February or the early March, we'll start talking about living organisms rather than just things about cells and how cells fit together. And eventually we'll get to the topics of ecology where living things interact with each other. So lots of different things. And at the end of the year, we usually do a biotechnology unit that everybody finds a lot of fun and very interesting in terms of modern day biology that we're doing these days to learn a lot of things about how living things work. Class rules, not a lot of rules. The main thing is that we want to respect each other and respect the materials that we all have. So simple rules: treat others the way you want to be treated, respect other people's property, including property in the classroom, and be respectful in your interactions with each other, not only interpersonally but also in groups, because we do a fair amount of group work. And then come to class prepared, having the materials that you need. If you have homework, finish your homework and have it ready to submit or turn in the next day. Just come to class prepared to learn. We do have some rules about school things, and especially things that apply in PreAP Biology that you may not have experienced before in school. So make sure that you get your assignments completed and submitted or turned in on time. We do a fair amount of group work, like I said, and so working together in that is really important because we help each other learn that way. When you are absent, makeup work is your responsibility. I'm not going to run you down to tell you what you have. You come and check with me or check on Schoology, because most everything will be posted on Schoology. If you know that you're going to be absent ahead of time, if you're in a UIL activity or athletics, then you can check your assignments ahead of time. They'll be due when you return to class. Things will be posted in Schoology. We have a folder format that we're using, weekly folders with daily subfolders that have the day's activities and lesson plans in there, as well as links to documents and other things that you will need, other assignments that you will need from Schoology. If you are absent and it isn't planned ahead of time, then you need to be sure and check, send as soon as you return, you can use Schoology and see what's going on while you're there. One big thing to point out is that if you were absent the day before a test and you know the test is coming up because it's always in the schedule, then that's not an excuse to delay your test. So just so you know, you'll be expected to take the test when you return. There can be sometimes extenuating circumstances. We'll deal with that on a case-by-case basis. This is a pre-AP class, and you haven't had an advanced science class ever before this one. And so there's some different things that that you need to know. Your semester average is worth 10 points more than on-level classes, but that doesn't mean that you'll ever see that 10 points on your report card. The 10 points is only used to calculate your grade point average. You'll never see it on the transcript. So if you make a 90 in the class, then you'll see a 90 on the report card and on the transcript, but it'll calculate into your grade point average or your overall grade average as a 100 rather than a 90. You have to make 75 or greater for the semester to actually receive that grade point boost. So keeping your grades up is a big advantage to you. One thing that you may not realize is that in middle school, it was relatively easy sometimes to make very good grades. But in high school, it's a little bit different. You have to actually study rather than just memorize things. This is not, I always say to my students, this is not a memorize and regurgitate class. You actually have to study and learn things and learn how things work together. Your academic achievement grades are worth 75% of your 6 weeks average. This is tests and lab reports, projects, things like that. If you have a lab report or a project that's due and you turn it in late, you lose 30 points the first day, 50 points the second day. So it's really to your advantage to turn things in when they're due on time. Lab reports and projects are generally things that should help boost your grade, and rather than hurt it. So we don't want you to do that, but we do want you to respect the deadlines. Test grades will be worth twice as much as the other academic achievement grades. And one thing that's really different than what you had in middle school is that there are no retests in pre-AP biology classes, or any pre-AP classes. So we don't do retests. We don't do much about late work. We don't do much late work except take points off for late work. Your academic practice grades are worth 25% of your average. This includes things like daily assignments, daily quizzes, other kinds of worksheets. Most of them will be worth only 1 grade. Occasionally we may have a quiz or something that may be worth 2, but most of the time they're worth 1. And they're only worth 25% of your overall grade, which is higher than you've had before. Things that you'll need to bring. Now remember that since we're under a semi-quarantine and being careful about exposing ourselves to other people and other germs that we may come in contact with, it's really important that you have your own school supplies. There's nothing major that you need for this class other than just the normal school supplies. Paper, a notebook, a spiral notebook, or a composition book is a good thing for you to have for your notes. Writing implements like pens and pencils. If you like to use highlighters in your notes, then by all means bring highlighters. Colored pencils or markers. Colored pencils are probably more beneficial to you than markers, but having something like that helps with a lot of different things that we have. A ruler would be something good to have, but definitely scissors and glue sticks. We use those a lot for lots of different activities that we do in class, and so having your own scissors and glue sticks will be a big benefit. We will have to sanitize everything that you use, whether you use the supplies around the room or just touch the tables and things like that. We will have to sanitize everything before you leave class every day, and so having your own supplies will help make that go more quickly because we won't have to sanitize the classroom supplies. We may sometimes use calculators from time to time. If you have your own calculator, you're welcome to use that. You may use the one on your phone. I do have a few calculators that you can use, but again, if you use my calculators, they'll have to be sanitized before you leave. I will not grade notebooks, so you don't have to worry about that, but it is important for you to take notes and take good notes so that you can have them to study with. You may use your own laptop or tablet. It is definitely handwritten notes are preferred, but there are lots of things that we'll do on the computer this year to avoid having to handle a lot of paper and things like that. Most of your assignments you'll be able to submit on Schoology, like you did in the spring with the at-home learning. It's Writing your notes by hand is really a more effective way of learning things because it requires you to kind of process what you're learning rather than just kind of typing something out. And studies have shown that actually handwriting is much more beneficial to your understanding of things. Class materials will always be available on Schoology. We have a lot of Schoology things and a lot of assignments. We put everything on Schoology so that you can access it whether you're in class or not. If you're not present, then you can still see what we're doing that day and have access to the materials. We have a folder system that we'll be using. There's a weekly folder with the weekly planned lessons, and each day we'll have a folder that will have that day's activities with the materials and expectations for the assignments that you do. As far as taking notes, you will take your own notes based on class lectures or videos on Schoology. Sometimes I will just post a video with perhaps a video in Edpuzzle or something like that where you have to answer some questions along the way, but you're responsible for taking your own notes. You will not have a fill-in-the-blank notes or anything like that. Just copying words off the screen is not really taking notes. You need to actually process the material and write it in your own words. If you're beginning the year virtually, or if you end up doing at-home learning because of personal or family illness, then you're going to have to interact with course materials to be counted present for your attendance accounting. There are various ways that we'll measure that that interaction every day. Sometimes it'll be watching a video in Edpuzzle and answering some questions, or you might have to complete and submit a worksheet or a lab activity. There might be a Schoology quiz or test to take. There might be sometimes a Google form, or sometimes we'll have a Zoom meeting. I don't know yet about what schedule that will be, but I'll let you know as soon as I find out. Big thing is that the expectations for completing work and being prepared for class, etc., will be the same for in-person learning as at school. The learning will not be synchronous. In other words, I'll not necessarily teach a class period that you have to be there for every day, but the materials that are covered and the way it's covered will be the same, as close to the same thing as we have in in-person learning as we can possibly manage. I am generally at school before 7:30 in the morning. Students can't come in until 7:45, but you are welcome to come in. You will have to have a pass. You can check with me the day before, send me a message on Schoology, and I can manage and I can arrange for you to have a pass for tutorials. I am generally here until about 4:30 in the afternoon, and again, you may come in for tutorials, but you do need to have a pass to come in for tutorials after school as well. If you're a virtual or at-home learner, then you can always, of course, submit questions on Schoology, and I will answer them as soon as I possibly can. And like I said earlier, there will be some regularly scheduled Zoom meetings for discussions and reviews and things like that you're welcome to attend as well. If I'm not around or you can't find me, then you can definitely ask another biology teacher. Coach Munson also teaches pre-AP biology. We have several biology teachers, Coach Isbell, Mrs. Garcia, Mr. Burno, Mrs. Hernandez, Coach Locklear, all teach Biology 1. Dr. Lindahl teaches Anatomy and Physiology. All of them are willing to help you. We also have available for you AP Biology or National Honor Society tutors, and I'll have more information with you for you about that later on. We also are very lucky this year to have a student teacher. Her name is Miss Sabotis, and she's also going to make an introductory video for you, and so you'll enjoy getting to know her. She's graduated from Texas A&M with a major of biology, and she's very excited to be able to spend some time helping you learn about the living world that we live in. Just to let you know, that's about all. I just wanted to say hi and let you see my face if you're one of the virtual students. If you're virtual and when you come back to in-person, you may be in a different class. You may not have me, but we all three of us who teach pre-AP biology, Mr. Coach Munson and Mrs. Garcia and I, will cover the same things pretty much the same way and make sure that you have plenty of learning opportunities to learn about the living world. Welcome to CSHS, and we'll see you soon.